Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on your time zone. Hi, I'm Charlie Smith, and thank you for joining me. I am stoked. Today, we have Alan Aston here. Is it Aston?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Alan Aston,
Hello.
my favorite creator on TikTok, and one of my favorite Britney advocates in general. How are you today, man?
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. I am very well. How are you?
I'm good. Let's get right into it. I feel like a fuckload of stuff happened in January, man. I mean, like, Britney got slapped in the face. They announced the book cover. will.i.am came out with a song. Like, it's been a fucking intense...
You mean in July?
In July, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
What did I say?
January.
January? Oh my God, I do that all the time. I gotta stop smoking so much weed. But
I
anyway.
feel that.
But yeah, and even, it feels like the slap was even months ago. I mean, that feels like it was forever ago already.
I know, and so much has happened since then, and I get a lot of questions every day like, Alan, cover this, cover that. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I've had a lot of real life shit going on, so I'm like, I can't do all this. Yeah. So there's a lot I haven't personally talked about, so any of that we can tackle.
Yeah, I mean, the slap itself was a little frustrating just as far as the way that the media was covering it and like people online were talking about it, like she deserved to get slapped and stuff like that. It's just like, even if it was just a mix-up, like, don't talk like that. It's just so uncalled for. And then the Pauly Shore stuff. Did you hear about how, like, Pauly Shore was, like, randomly involved in that story?
Yes, because I had made a video about it with those photos and people kept tagging him over and over, which was funny to me. But yeah, I didn't like the way the media did that either. Because right after that story dropped, TMZ was immediately out there with a freaking eyewitness who was like, oh, and she was yelling in an accent and being like, fuck America, you know, that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, you're kind of blowing out of proportion what actually happened, but it's always there to make her look bad. TMZ just always swoops in with like, how can we make this look the worse for Britney?
Yep. And I'm at the point now where, like, I really want to tackle TMZ like as a topic, the same way that we're looking at the court hearings, right? So like and you and I feel like when we got connected, it's interesting because I feel like you are very much a part of the Britney fandom that I had to kind of pull away from, as far as like more like the theories. And I don't want to say conspiratorial because I don't really see you as a conspiracy theorist. You really just look at what's happening, and if somebody's going to base a conspiracy theory on it, like, you don't really have control over that. But I think you do a really good job of looking at the obvious questions that we're all like, okay, this looks weird, this looks odd, while still giving Britney her humanity. And I feel like that's the thing that TMZ doesn't do. TMZ just, will kind of grab at whatever straw they can. I mean, they literally posted a picture of her taking a dump on her way home somewhere. Like, they posted pictures of her stopping at gas station bathrooms. Just like, why? Like, I don't understand. I was going to say I don't understand how they can legally do it, but I don't know if it's on your radar that back in like 2005 or 6, the LA County, like, council people, like their government, voted on whether or not it would be illegal for paparazzi to harass celebrities like that. And they voted against the celebrities. They voted in favor of the paparazzi, which is still just crazy. But yeah, I was really frustrated by TMZ, just in general with the slap.
Well, but think about this. Of course they did, because if you think about the people who are always talking to TMZ and stuff, they're always talking to lawmakers and officials. Officials said this, the police said that. Yeah. They're in each other's back pockets. Yeah. And I mean, not to bring it back to the will.i.am song, but I am going to bring it back because there's that one line where she's like, paparazzi shot me, I am the economy. And I think that's true of all of LA, is like the celebrities are the economy of LA. So of course they voted against them.
No, I didn't even catch that line. That's in the new Mind Your Business song?
It's honestly the best line in the song. Yeah.
I hate to admit, when it first came out, either way, it's not Britney. I don't think that's her voice. But when it first came out, I was like, this song sucks. And then like 2 days later, I'm just like, Joby. Like, I keep getting it stuck in my head. But I still maintain, I don't think that it is a good song, so to speak. Especially when we're talking about the discography, thank you, of Britney. I mean, like, in the whole scope, even Scream and Shout wasn't a very good song. I don't think it was a terrible song. I've rocked out to it, but it's definitely not one that I like go to kind of to like jam to.
No, I agree with everything you're saying, but I will say I liked Twist and Shout just a little bit better because at least she actually fucking sang in it. Like, I'm sorry.
Wait, Scream and Shout?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I said twist and
No,
shout.
no, that's fine. I literally was like, wait, is there another song I didn't know?
Twist and shout. No,
Yes.
I meant scream and shout, but at least she actually sings briefly in it.
Yeah.
This song barely had any kind of singing. When it was very like monotonous,
Yep.
one note, then maybe
like literally
another
like
note.
manjo be ma. It's like yeah. And I wish they would be more honest. I really wish they would just be more upfront, because I'm being real. If they were like, okay, we took one word she said in 1999 and then made a song out of it to try to help boost her fucking bank account, I'd be like, yes, I would stream it off the hook.
Get your bag, girl.
Yeah.
Get your bag.
Yes, I have no problem with that. But them being like, oh, she was like there, but like also not there. You know what I mean? It's like, why the...
It's will.i.am pushing that, though, because
Yeah.
then allegedly somebody said to Britney, I don't know if it was Britney spoke to Vanity Fair or if she sent an email or if Cade spoke to them for her. I don't know, but they had quotes from her, and she said it was old stuff that they revisited. But then you have will.i.am going to the same press going, it's not important when we recorded this.
Like, how the fuck is it not important? Like, if he was doing
It
a
needed to
song with, like,
ferment.
Lindsay Lohan, fine. But, like, we're all still questioning if Britney's even safe. Like, it's so... what's the word? Like, insulting, maybe? That like they just keep kind of playing it off like we're being fucking crazy. And it's just like, it's not crazy for us to be concerned. And did you have a chance to look at the new article that just came out? Like, came out like hours ago.
Which one?
So I think it's the New York Times or New York Post.
Is that out?
Yeah, it just came
Because
out.
I saw that it was going to be out tomorrow, I thought. They
No.
they said it was on shelves, but it would be online tomorrow. Is it out
So
right now?
I had it sent to me. Yeah, somebody sent it to me, and I've only just
Tell me what it said.
skimmed it. I can tell you Britney's Mystery has some highlights up that
Okay.
were interesting. They spoke to Jake, I don't know his last name, but and then they talked to Trey, who I don't know Trey.
I do.
So I don't know Trey, and partly it's really diva-ish. When I first started in this community and there were a bunch of different pages, I was like trying very hard to like support that page and like be like, hey, like we're very like-minded, and he would just like ignore me, and I was like, fuck this guy, and I just like stopped following him based on only that, and I don't really know why. I don't know if I ever rubbed him out the wrong way or he literally never saw, because he's a very fast growing account.
I would guess he hasn't seen it. Honestly, Charlie, I've known him for like months. We're not close friends. We don't like talk all the time, but we communicate. We've been on lives together quite a few times, and he's really lovely, and I don't see him as a person that would just shut you out on purpose.
Yeah.
I really don't.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I was actually really happy that he took that interview. I was
too.
asked to do it. I was asked to do it, and I ghosted the person who asked. It was the same writer, Rebecca Jennings. She DM'd me and asked me to participate, and I was like, okay, well, what's your angle going to be? Are you trying to figure out if she's okay? Are you looking into how the media treats her? Or are you just wanting to do a piece on fans and how they're acting? Because I'm not into that. And she wouldn't really give me a straight answer. So I was like, peace.
Yeah, it was the last one.
I knew that.
Yeah,
I knew that.
like,
That's why I
even the
said
way,
no.
I mean, she didn't make Trey sound bad. Trey actually sounded very...
Well, that's why I'm glad he did it, because he is
Yeah.
so well spoken, and he's a news anchor, so he's used to being put on the spot, and he
Right.
knows exactly how to like speak well and not be misunderstood. So I trusted him with that, and I was glad he took it.
And I've liked that Trey is one of the accounts that does look at the, sort of like the more conspiracy side of stuff, but like I was saying, like it doesn't really... He doesn't attack her humanity at any point. Like, he's just like, what the fuck is up with this? You know what I mean? Like, this looks weird. And those are the accounts that I gravitate towards more. And it's also one of the reasons I had to get off TikTok. I feel like that's harder to find on TikTok. And there's a little bit more of a like a civil discourse on Instagram within the Britney community itself. I mean, like, one of the things that I think is both good and bad is I get a lot of people tattling to me a lot of just like, hey, this account, you need to get him in check. And I'm like, right, I'm not an actual general. Like, I'm not like actually in charge of anybody. But your account, Britney's Mystery, and there are a few others that I'm like, oh, thank God that there's more anchors in this community than when we first started, because, you know, all of the people I've been connected to are great. But we're all sort of all over the place. It's very much like being on and then like the Breathe Heavy stands. And I feel like I'm finally finding people like yourself that are much more
We're
in the middle. See?
Right? We're all in the middle, right?
Yeah.
These people,
Yeah.
I would say.
And I think you and Britney's Mystery are probably the best examples for me of just like, you don't seem to give a fuck if you're a conspiracy theorist or a stan. Like you're just like looking at the facts and shit.
I don't identify as either. I identify as something in the middle, and that really does piss a lot of people off. And they want me to be one or another. And I think, maybe when I was starting out talking about it, I was more conspiratorial because at the time I felt like everybody's just calling everybody who's questioning things crazy. And I want to show up with evidence of why we're worried.
Right.
Like, this is what we're seeing, and this is why we are worried, because I wanted them to stop gaslighting everybody who was asking questions. So I got really hyper-focused and obsessed on the wedding, and that was a really sort of conspiratorial thing I was looking at. And I do still feel like there's conspiracy in that wedding.
I do too.
But since then I have mellowed out and got somewhere in the middle. Now that the awareness is raised and people are seeing the questions and going, okay, I feel like we can be really looking at everything.
Right. I think at the wedding specifically, like you said, the conspiracies are just so obvious, but there's also totally logical explanations for them, which is why I am still questioning it, but I backed off of, especially Sam. I've really backed off of Sam, which has also lost me a lot of support. I think people think that I'm like pro Sam, and it's not that. It's more that I don't have proof that this is not the choice of Britney Spears. For all we know, like, granted, of course, we have like the further reaching theories that like she's, being held captive and all this, but this could be the guy that kind of was her anchor at the end of this conservatorship. He is what's familiar to her. She obviously has a lot of trauma about feeling safe and whatever else. Like, he might be something that is a real constant thing for her. And he seems a lot like Ethan to me. Like, he seems very like kind of a dope, but like harmless and like says shitty things, but like doesn't mean it. You know what I mean? Like, he could really be very harmless. And what my personal theory on the wedding is, I think they got married in December 21. I think that that ceremony that we watched was for him, that she did willingly, like, hey, let me introduce you to Hollywood, so to speak, which is why it was only celebrities and his family. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of, at least in my mind, it's like very obvious that that's very likely what happened. And either way, she's had 2 weddings. She just wanted to make it official. She wanted, to do it kind of his way. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I somewhat agree with you, and I somewhat disagree with you, but I agree that they already had a wedding. Yeah. I'm not sure if I know it was December or not. I was theorizing that maybe it was like April of 2022, because that's when she started calling him husband in her Instagram captions.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, they were in Mexico, and she started calling him husband in all caps during that time, so that's my best guess on when I think they really got married secretly. And then I think that Britney didn't want this big wedding. She's already done the public weddings. She wants to live her private life. I think she wants to just be happy now. And I think that when she was still in the conservatorship, she got signed on to brand deals around this wedding, because you'll notice Versace had a bunch of sponsored posts about it. The makeup people, Charlotte Tilbury or whatever. And there was the jewelry girl, Stephanie Gottlieb. All of them basically had like Instagram ads made out of this stuff, and I think they had signed her on to these people, and they said, well, you have to do this because there's been money changed hands.
I think that's actually very very good point. And as far as her previous weddings, she actually never did have a big celebrity she never had a celebrity wedding before. Kevin, that was a really intimate one that they faked. They actually threw off the paparazzi. They're like, oh, we're doing, excuse me, I keep burping, excuse me. They were like, oh, we're doing it in like, June or whatever month. And then they ended up doing like a fake out, and they pretended it was a bridal shower. And nobody, including the guests, knew. They thought it was an actual bridal shower, and it turned out to be the ceremony. And then of course with Jason, we all know that was not planned or wise on her part whatsoever. Yeah. I will never question Britney Spears' choices except for that one. That one, I think.
Right.
Oof.
But I will say, back to the Kevin Federline wedding, I agree. I miscategorized that as like a big wedding. But what I really meant was like they sold those pictures to the magazines for a lot of money. And it was very public facing. Yep. Where this one felt like it was supposed to be quieter.
Yeah, I agree. I think too that I feel like a lot of the things that they've been trying to navigate with Britney's career post-conservatorship are just genuinely misguided. This is really uncharted territory. We've never seen a pop star, controlled for more than a decade and then come out of that. And one of the things that, I know you haven't read it, but the new article sort of frustrated me, but by saying was sort of like, fans need to stop being impatient and just let her heal how she's going to heal. And it's like, this is fucking gaslighting, man. Like, I personally, like, I get that there are a lot of Britney, there's a lot of sections of Britney's fans that are doing that. They are questioning it in shitty ways. But the real leaders, like the people with like yourself, like big followings and stuff, are not doing that. So then like what are these news outlets and people choosing to really hear? They just want to act like we're all being crazy when it's like, you're the best example. It's like, no, do you see all the information on the green screen behind her? It's like, these are facts, you know?
Yeah, and I think they are failing to recognize that regardless of whether Britney is behind it or not, the brand of Britney seems to be going full steam ahead. And that is really concerning for anyone that would consider themselves a fan. And I don't think that any one of us wants her to put out stuff that she doesn't want to. That it's actually kind of the opposite of what they're saying. They're like, let her heal, leave her alone. And I'm like, no, tell her brand to let her heal.
Yeah, right.
We don't need old music from her that she's not excited about. We don't need a watered down book if it's not what she wanted us to read. We want her to go away and be happy, but that's not what's happening.
And I feel like that's the most confusing part, is it's like we're supposed to just like take this merchandise and this content and these products and have them shoved down our throats without questioning. And if you question, you're not a real fan anymore. And it's just like, dude, my stomach hurts even thinking about the idea, like, if Britney really, really wants that, it will break my heart that I'm not just blindly doing that. Like, it is, and I'm trying to be serious, like, it is genuinely really hard for me to do this and to stick to my guns and say, I don't want to encourage people to support the brand because I still don't know. Full disclosure, dude, I'm very, very close to buying myself tickets to that fucking Broadway show, because the more I think about that, I can get behind that before I can get behind the Will I Am show. You know what I mean? The Will I Am song. The Broadway musical isn't saying, oh, Britney was here and she did all the choreography. Like, it was inspired by her. It's not her story. They're using some of her music. She is getting paid for that, unless they find eventually that the brand is literally withholding her earnings, which isn't happening. I mean, like, that's just not happening. There's more that we should be questioning and making sure, like, hey, like, you know, does she have the right people in charge that she wants in charge and stuff like that? But, like, people kind of cling on to the idea of Michael Caine is in charge of the brand. Now, that could mean that this is all fucking bullshit and we shouldn't be supporting. But we don't know that. Like, we don't know it for a fact. So I get a little bit hesitant when you know, a follower or a fellow creator will kind of only go back to that one point, because it's just like, we got to find more evidence than just this one dude, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I get really uncomfortable because I have people just coming at me all day with every different angle. But one of the angles I get a lot from certain pages is like, how can you tell people, how are you going to buy this book? You can't do that. You need to boycott the brand. And there's a lot of pages that feel really strongly about that. And it's like, listen, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I, like you, don't feel comfortable doing that, because at this point, I don't know for a fucking fact who's making money where, and is she being treated fairly and all that. And if it turns out telling people don't buy this hurts her in some way, I'd feel like a real dick. Yeah. So until I'm like 1000% sure, I'm not comfortable with that stance. Yep. I don't have a problem with somebody else having that stance, but I don't like when people come to tell me, like, you need to have this stance. No, I don't need to have any stance. This is the one I'm comfortable with. Yeah. And I'm still supporting until I'm not.
I pre-ordered the book. There is nothing. You did too? Yeah. There is literally nothing that can come out from now to October 24th that will make me cancel that order. Nothing. I want to know what's in it. I don't know if she wrote it, but I want to know what's in it. And I'm very disappointed to hear she's not going to be reading it, because if she had, it would have put a lot more faith for me into the brands and stuff. And you know, the theories of, I'm sure you have just as many people as I do, they'll be like, I'm telling, she's dead. She died 17 years ago. And it's like, I want to have more shit to be able to be like, that's bullshit. And if she was narrating that book, it would help me a little bit to be like, but she's reading the book and you know, and hearing her voice and saying, I can recognize her voice. But it is getting harder and harder to sort of keep the, you know, being on at bay, so to speak, of just like, guys, be patient. You know what I mean? We got to give the book a chance. Or Matthew Rosengart, the lawyer, same thing. People are like, he's not doing his fucking job. It's like, okay, we haven't gone to trial yet. So I don't know that that's true. And people are like, well, the statute of limitations, everything's expired. I'm like, again, have you talked to Matthew? Have you talked to the people? Because the only person I know that's showing up to court is Melanie Veronica, and that's not what she's saying is happening. And then people will attack her like she's Team Con. I've been talking to that girl for a fucking minute. She is not Team Con any more than you or I are. Like, she's not. And, you know, does she keep a more open mind about the legal team than I do? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, she's much more, you know, open-minded.
She's also face-to-facing with those people, and that adds a level of humanity to someone that you and I can't understand, like, because we haven't been in person with those people, and so, like, I think that's respectable, honestly,
I do too.
to treat people with humanity.
No, me too. I mean, and I'll be honest, it's kind of a silly example, but I had the same experience with Jason Alexander after I talked to him for hours on the phone, and he told me his whole life story, specific to Britney. It was a little tougher for me when he would post racist, transphobic, homophobic things, whatever. I didn't like it, obviously, and I wouldn't condone that, but I still followed him for a long time because I was just like, okay, well, this guy's clearly got a lot of fucking issues, but, like, I want to know what he says about Britney. And you know, like you said, connecting with somebody on a personal level of any kind, it makes it a little harder to really, like, be more conspiratorial. Because even Jason, like, that's actually a bad example because I think we should trust Matthew, and Jason is, like, so not trustworthy. But yeah, what was the other stuff that has been going on this month?
Well, hang on. I want to go back to the book for 1 second because there was something you said earlier that I just wanted to comment on. You were saying, you know, I'm going to buy it regardless. And I said, me too. But I am sitting here thinking to myself, I think it's just as important to look at this book and see what's not there. Okay. At this point, what is not in this book is going to be almost probably more important than what is in telling us what's actually going on behind the scenes and who's pulling strings still.
Yep. I absolutely agree with that. Also, do you know that Who's Pulling the Strings was the name of my show?
No.
I had a public access show called Who's Pulling the Strings. I'm like, yes!
I didn't.
Yeah, no, but that's funny, too, because, like, I think, you know, now there's reports saying that they removed, and I shouldn't be laughing because the whole thing is very serious, but that they removed the stuff about Jamie Lynn. And it's just
Anne
like...
Lynn.
Anne Lynn, yeah. And it's just like, okay... Great. You know what I mean? Like, and to be honest, if I'm being really transparent, I'm kind of glad to hear that. I think Britney probably wrote a lot of this or told a ghostwriter in anger. And family's family. Me and my sister have had, like, some blowout fucking fights that in some cases have lasted, like, more than a year. And I saw her this past weekend and I love her. You know what I mean? So, like, I feel like, you know, that kind of stuff always evolves. And I do hope that eventually Britney connects with her family again, but I'm not in a rush to see that. I get annoyed when people are just like, Britney needs her mama. She needs her mama. It's like, you don't fucking know these people. Like, a lot of folks are really pushing to see a reunion within the family, and I'm not.
Right. No, I feel you. And I mean, if anything, what I would like to see first is her make up with her kids, because I think that's probably the most important thing to her.
Yep.
And I feel like she's a mama. She identifies as a mama. And I feel really sad that her boys are leaving tomorrow at this point.
Oh, is it tomorrow? I saw your video.
Yeah, so it's Monday right now as we're recording. I don't know when this will be out, but they're leaving Tuesday, which is August 1st, to go to Hawaii.
Wow. And
they haven't seen each other in over a year, and that just breaks my heart. And I know that she's expressed anger and has been upset with them as well, and so it's not just like one side, but this is just sad to think about. It
is really sad. I really, really liked the video that you put up today. I actually tried to figure out a way to download it because I was going to share it and tag you, and I couldn't. So I was just like, which is good. You shouldn't have it so that people can download your shit. But yeah, I thought I was happy to have that reminder of what she said to it's Jaden, right? Jaden was the one that was in the interview.
Yes.
Right. And I have another thing on my mind that I've chatted with you about in private a little bit, but I want to be very careful about the way that I do here. And I'm going to edit this anyway, so I'm not really all that stressed. But one of the things that's been on my mind a lot is seeing some accounts addressing these rumors about the boys that have been going around. I guess somebody found some court documents that involve basically the custody agreements between Britney and Kevin. And I think there needs to be more of an open discussion on what the fuck we're covering and why. Because again, like, you know, you were like, okay, I think it's important for us to look at this audio because Britney seems really lucid. I think it's a good example of her, you know, being very on top of her relationship with the boys. This doesn't seem like she doesn't know what's going on or whatever. Like, I just felt like you addressed a lot of really important things. And granted, okay, it does discuss the boys, but it also discussed the boys because they went and did an interview in public. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
right.
Okay, they sort of, you know, with Kevin's permission, opened themselves up for at least some criticism with things that they're saying publicly, right? And at the same time, like, I don't know how to address these accounts that are covering stuff that's just inappropriate, because it feels like even if you and I are talking about it, right, then people are like, oh, well, what was it? And they're gonna go look for stuff, and it's just like, I want to figure out, like, within the community, like Green Garden Goddess, she's been sharing like different people that, like, we're all connected, right? She hasn't shared anybody that I'm not cool with, right? So, like, how can we all, like, get in, like, a Britney union, or like get on the same page of, like, okay, when people address stuff, like, I want to find some way to address things without addressing things, because a lot of times I stay overly silent, and I think it makes people think that I'm not aware of it, or that, you know, or that they should be covering it. I think sometimes other people will jump on a story because they're like, oh, I'm the first one to have heard it. And it's like, no, maybe a lot of the accounts that are bigger, like, don't want to touch that. And at least with this, that's what I feel like that has been happening.
Yeah, well, because the story you're talking about, I've been tagged in, and people have been asking me for days and days, what do you think, what do you think, what do you think? And I've just remained silent because I'll tell you what I think here, and this is as far as I'm going to go with it, but what I think is that this information allegedly, this is something that happened in 2021. We're now in 2023, and people are asking more questions than ever about Britney Spears. She has a court date set for a trial where they're going to look at conservatorship abuse for her in 2024, and her book is coming out in like 2 months, this tell-all book. And then all of a sudden we're getting this really old information that feels like a bombshell from
a really questionable source, I should add. I feel like I should maybe add that. I don't know.
I'm not comfortable saying that, but I am comfortable saying that the timing of this news feels really icky to me.
Yep.
And it's something that in no way, you can't frame this to make Britney look good. There's only Britney looks bad in this situation. And I'm not saying she's a perfect person, and I'm not saying she hasn't done things in her life that don't look good.
Yeah, it's no one's business.
It is no one's business, but I'm just questioning the timing of why this is coming out right the fuck now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm questioning, is why are we hearing this now? And now we have all these people researching this man who, you know, took her to court. So that's
the reason I'm bringing it up today, is today I saw somebody shared a picture of this man who has
so they're witch hunting a stranger that they don't know anything about, and I'm not comfortable with that, which is why I've just not said anything.
And I don't know if I mentioned it to you, I don't know if I sent you a screenshot of it, but did I tell you I messaged him? I found him on Facebook, and I sent him a message within hours, like within 2 hours of that story breaking. So I messaged the guy on Facebook, and I said, I don't know you, I don't want to harass you. I didn't even mention Britney's name. I said I am part of an advocacy group online, and I just came across a video of you on on TikTok, and I said I'm concerned that your privacy could be in jeopardy, and I don't know if giving you a heads up could help in some way, but I'm very concerned for your privacy. And even just looking through his Facebook for like a minute, I was like, oh my God, this guy has so much. I mean, he's not a celebrity, he's just a person. So he has so much information, like, exposed and shit, and like pictures of his family and all this stuff. I'm just like, oh my God, like, I'm watching it in real time and I don't know what to do. And I feel like, you know, and this article that came out today is a good example. I feel like we're all getting lumped into the same shit. And it's really tough when people are calling, you know, and I'm sure you can identify, like, people are calling me a leader of this community that also people like, they're fucking crazy. And it's just like, okay, like, what do we do at this point, you know?
Yeah, it's difficult, and it's difficult every day. It's a series of choices all the time that sometimes you get wrong.
Right.
And it's hard. It's hard to be an advocate in this community and to try and stay the course, because there's so many distractions like this, and there's so much drama, and there's just, so many things happening, so many moving parts. And I don't think that, we should be expected to be perfect all the time as long as we just keep trying. Yeah. But I do think, it's good to not talk about every single thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important to A, yes, like you don't have to touch every single topic, and B, like really just be mindful on which ones are relevant. You know what I mean? Like it's just like some stuff's really not fucking relevant to Britney's freedom, her, whether or not she's okay, and her free, her justice and stuff. And I think that's definitely an area. Like and another one, again with the burps. Jason Alexander is just like going on podcasts like, so the orgy that Britney was involved in 2004, and it's just like, okay. First of all, if all of the people that were aware of my orgies started talking on podcasts, then I would be in fucking trouble. That's one. And second, like I find it really funny that Jason like is trying to make her look bad. And he's like, yeah, while I was with my wife in Vegas, I woke up and she had gone to an orgy and didn't wake me up and take me. Like, I don't know why for me, that's just like, dude, you sound like such a wet blanket. Like, what kind of loser doesn't get invited to an orgy that his wife goes to? Like, I don't know. I'm harping on the wrong thing there, but he just really gets my ass.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled with him going around saying these things. I don't think he wants to, on one hand, say, like, I'm Britney's really close friend. I'm one of the only people that cares about her and has her best interest at heart. And then on the other hand, he wants to go around and say all this shit about her that's private.
Yep. He first tried to sell pictures and voice recordings of her in, I want to say 2008. He made like 10 grand off of, and she knew and was fucking pissed. She found out and got mad at him. He has not been in a room with her since, I believe, 2004. I'm almost positive he has not been in a room with her since then.
And she never mentions him.
Ever. She wasn't in a conservatorship for the first, for 04, 05, 06, 07, 08, but she never saw him. You know what I mean? Like, she had full autonomy over her life, but she never chose to be around him. And even at least in my, when I spoke to him, Jason gave me a full breakdown of the security around her house. He explained to me the scheduling of, like, how to break in. He gave me the layout. Like, and I was just sitting there on the phone like, oh, my God, I'm so glad that I'm a safe person that's not
I was just thinking,
anything.
Like, that is so psychopathic, but, like, to tell a stranger
I don't know who else he talked to. I mean, he must have talked to other people. I talked to him once online and said I'm interested in learning about the Britney story. And this was like first when I started. I was like, yeah, I want to fight for Britney's justice. He gave me his cell phone number immediately. He didn't question
a couple
anything.
Of creators' cell phone numbers. Not myself. I've never had communication with him, nor have I wanted to. Yeah. But he used to text with Alex Serves Tea. I know that. Yeah. And call her, and he used to text, I believe.
Alex Serves. Is she the one that called me AI? Is Alex Serves the one who said I was a robot?
Yeah. She talks to Jason. That's what I know. I don't know her personally.
Still?
I don't know still. I don't speak with her.
No,
so.
She came into my lives and was like literally like, oh, I saw a glitch. This person's an AI. I was like, what? Like, dude, you can Google that I exist. Like, I exist. I'm a fucking person. Like,
I was on American Idol, bitch.
Like, literally. That's literally what I said. I was like, you can, like, I'm not a made up person. Like, you can look at fucking Ryan Seacrest call me an emotional time bomb. Like, whatever, man. But,
called you that?
Oh my God. Ryan Seacrest called me an emotional time bomb. Jennifer Lopez actually called me crazy. She used the word crazy.
I'm so sorry.
TMZ called me crazy. They called me a lot
assholes.
worse. Yeah. I really at some point want to do a podcast talking about my experience on American Idol and the aftermath.
I would love to hear that story.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I've never had anybody ask. I've never been interviewed about it, and I have literally probably like, if I was to do like a series, like a stand-up series kind of on it, I have at least 5 to 6 hours on shit that people would be interested in. Like, I think that people would kind of blow their minds. I did it on my stories at one point very briefly, just explaining the contracts and things about the contracts that people just don't fucking understand. And like someone like yourself, don't ever go on a fucking show like that. It will destroy your fucking career, like, for real. And like, so if you make the top 25, you are contractually stuck with Fox for like 15 years. So any money you get, they get like 15%. It's not even a regular amount. It's like a fucking huge percentage.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's
I signed up to go on The Voice years and years and years ago, but I chickened out. I'm not like a public.
But that's
I
smart,
can't do
though.
it.
You just don't have control over the narrative. I mean, it's really smart. For me as a person, I want to be a stand-up comic, and I really would love to be on Broadway someday. So I don't think it did anything bad for my career whatsoever. But if my real, like, genuine dream was to be a singer, it would have absolutely destroyed it. I mean, like, it really fucked up that aspect of it. But yeah, enough about that stuff.